While officers were at the front door, Daniels yelled she had a gun.
I got a gun!
Officers were called to a domestic at 3108 Northwest 61st Street, where a woman had shot a man in the chest. When the officers arrived, they found an adult male victim outside of the home and were able to get him to safety. When the first officer arrived, the victim handed him a gun that he was able to get away from the suspect, identified as Lisa Daniels. While officers were at the front door, Daniels yelled she had a gun.
I got a gun!
Reedy, come back up here. She's saying she has a gun.
Got a gun!
Come out with your hands up!
I got a gun!
Come out with your hands up!
Officers moved away from the door to a safe position with the belief Daniels had another gun in her possession. As officers were about to begin giving additional commands to Daniels, she came out of the home. When she exited the home, she had a sweater covering her right hand and pointed her right arm at the officers. Daniels continued to tell the officers she had a gun while doing this. Officers gave Daniels several verbal commands to drop the item, but she refused. One officer attempted to use a taser, but was unsuccessful.
Someone go less lethal. Drop it now. Drop it.
Drop the gun! Drop the gun!
Daniels then turned and began aggressively approaching Officer Elam while raising her covered hand and getting into a two-handed shooter stance. The officer believed Daniels had a gun under the sweater and was pointing it at him. The officer discharged his firearm towards Daniels, but she was not struck.
Drop the gun! Drop the gun! Drop the gun! Drop the gun!
Call has been updated.
Drop the gun! 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 Drop the gun!
Daniels then turned and started walking back across the lawn. It was at this point the officers could see the item in Daniels' hand was partially uncovered and they were able to identify it was not a firearm.
Drop the gun! Drop the gun! Drop the gun! Drop the gun! Drop!
Get on the ground!
Pointing it, drop it!
That's not a gun. It's not a gun. It's not a gun. It's not a gun.
The officers were able to communicate this information to each other, at which point another officer was able to deploy his taser and strike Daniels. She was then taken into custody without further incident. The male shooting victim was taken to an area hospital where he was treated for his injury. A second male victim who had been injured by Daniels prior to the officer's arrival was also treated for his injuries and released at the scene. Daniels was booked into the Oklahoma County Detention Center for assault and battery with a dangerous weapon. The involved officer was placed on routine administrative leave pending the outcome of the investigation. The investigation is still in the early stages and will take time to complete.